everyone, I'm coming to you for Assignment 5's video for revisions on our Assignment 4 unit of study. So my unit of study was over the standard that I chose. I teach first grade, so I chose a first grade math standard in measurement and data. So it was about interpreting data in 3 categories, answering and asking questions in that, and so I set some goals and student objectives. So the first question that we are supposed to look at is about do the tasks yield appropriate evidence of identified understanding? So I had 3 activities in my lesson, and I do believe that they yield appropriate evidence of identified understanding. I think that in each activity I would clearly be able to tell what which students understood what we were doing that day versus which students needed a little bit more support. What I do think is that maybe in my assessment there would be a little bit of lacking in that area. I do think that me asking the kids to orally answer 5 questions about the data on a line plot independently tells me whether they get it or not, but it doesn't give them a way to show me. They're just answering the question, if that makes sense. So there's something that I would probably revise. I might make my assessment more hands-on rather than just me asking them questions and them responding. The next question was, do the tasks involve a complex real-world application of identified knowledge, skills, and understanding? I do think I did a good job of incorporating manipulatives and trying to make it engaging for the students, but I don't know how real world it is, if that makes sense. So something I was thinking I maybe could do instead was, since we're doing graphing, maybe we could do the data points of how many letters that they had in their names and choose 5 letters, 6 letters, and 7 letters. And that would be a little more engaging to them and relevant to their lives because they would be involved. So that's a revision that I could make instead of just using, for example, here I said I would use a pencil, marker, and glue stick. Instead, I could try and relate it to them a little bit more. The next question was, are a variety of appropriate assessment formats used to provide additional evidence of learning? And I think that I could have done better on my assessment in that regard. I don't think that there was, I didn't plan for multiple formats to be used in the assessment, which I think probably now thinking back, I probably should have. I could have asked the students if they would like to show me or answer the questions in the way that I did them, or something else, just give them more options, but that still yield the same results, if that makes sense. So that was an area that I definitely would revise if I were to do this unit again, or when I do teach it this year, I can definitely look back and say, okay, here's what I was thinking in regards to the assessment. Another thing, or the last question that was asked is, are students given the opportunity to self-assess and reflect upon their learning and performance? I think throughout each of my activities, students are self-reflecting because they're hands-on doing something, and so, and then we're asking and answering questions since that's a part of the standard, so with that comes kind of reflection and analysis of their learning. But I think, again, in the ending of the unit and wrapping it up, there wasn't time to kind of look back at what we had done, where we started, and what they've learned in full. So maybe a better closure activity or something to kind of close the unit would be better to add in towards the end of it. I also think with the assessment, making sure that I give them feedback and let them know how they did or what they could do to get a better score, or then pulling them in those supplemental lessons later on to make sure that they understand the content is really important for letting them reflect upon their performance. So giving them the feedback, especially since they're young, they kind of need guidance in that area. So that falls a lot on me. So making sure that I give them that so that they can reflect on their learning and performance. Overall, I enjoyed this assignment. I think that the feedback I got from my colleague was really spot on. She said that she really liked that they got to explore different settings in this, but that maybe having them work more partner or having them relate a little bit more would be beneficial, which is something that I totally agree with and thought I could revise in one of the activities. So it was really a good activity and I learned a lot. Thanks.